other than winning those majors. That's what he really is geared up to.
And he's played relatively well this week. I was impressed with the way that he served against Akasuso. Absolutely outstanding in that regard throughout the course of that one, but struggled a little bit against Federer initially. But a subtle change in tactics is what I liked. Introduced a slice backhand a little more, served sensibly, took a bit of pace off it, got more first serves in, came to the net a little more frequently. Nice adjustments to the blustery conditions.
That's what you love about Roger Federer, though. Even though he's the best player in the world, against almost everyone that he plays against, with the exception of Nadal, he's making adjustments on the court all the time. Even though he's the main guy, he does what he has to do to break down his opponent. It's not like he's just going to hit one way, and if that's not working, he's going to stay with it. He does make the adjustments.
It's going to be fascinating to see what he does this afternoon against Hewitt, who, of course, has been a great player. And I use the past tense there because he's 28 years of age now, currently ranked 42 in the world. But, of course, his highest ranking was #1, one of 24 players to have reached the summit of this particular game, and he did so in November of 2001. He did well, didn't he? Because it was at the end of the Sampras-Agassi era, and Agassi was still playing a little bit, but not quite as good as he was at his peak. Sampras had retired. Federer wasn't quite as good as he then became, so he just filled the gap between Sampras and Federer and managed to make the most of that, winning 2 Grand Slam titles and was ranked #1 in the world for 2 seasons.
Yeah, great timing, 2001, 2002. And he really made his mark in 2000 because he got to the semifinals of the U.S. Open that year. He did lose to Sampras that year. That was the year that Marat Safin beat Safin in that final. But you're right, he came in at a perfect time, and then he was able to beat Sampras in the 2001 final at the U.S. Open. So, like everybody, when you start winning all those kinds of matches, well, then you're a believer. But I think what's great about Hewitt is that seems like a long time ago, but what we're seeing from him now is really a great recovery, as far as I'm concerned, after having to go through the surgery that he had to go through.
Yeah, he has struggled with injury and also struggled against Soderling in the opening round, but hit back strongly after the loss of the opening set, stayed mentally tough throughout the course of that one, easily defeated the German Benjamin Becker in his second match of the week, and then adjusted nicely to the loss of the second set against Query. The American getting a little tight in that decider, and he'll be a little disappointed with the way that his game faded when he needed it to be exceptionally strong. So Hewitt will certainly feel he's played enough tennis coming into this match to feel pretty good about his chances. But how difficult is it, Doug, for him coming into this match knowing that he hasn't beaten Federer since he did so in the Davis Cup back in 2003, and since then he's had some pretty heavy losses to suffer at the hands of the Swiss?
It's a real tough ask of the Australian. Very difficult. I think what he's got to do is he's got to basically say, you know what, this is a different week. I'm playing Federer, who's struggling a bit, and he's had some great scalps this week, Leighton Hewitt. He's won matches over guys that are in the first 25, so Hewitt can say, I'm coming back. Maybe Federer's vulnerable right now. Didn't play that great last week in Montreal. He's got to have some way to try to put all those losses behind him. And if anybody can do it, I think Hewitt's the guy that can do it.
Carlos Bernardis is in the chair, another umpire that's just snuck into the top 5 in the world of late in my rankings, so he'll be pleased with that, I'm sure. And always enjoys his job. I often see him in the gym in the morning, although he does need to man up a little bit in terms of his workouts. Just tends to do a little bit of gentle cycling when perhaps needs to break a little bit more of a sweat. Take a leaf out of Hewitt's book, perhaps, somebody who works exceptionally hard off court. Blustery conditions today, Doug. Who's that going to favour?
I think it'll probably favour Leighton Hewitt because Federer times the ball so beautifully, plays the ball early, and we saw him struggle with the wind against Federer yesterday. It took him a while to adjust to it. So I think anything like a neutralizer like the wind is good for Hewitt.
So the scene is set for the second quarterfinal of the day here on centre court. We've already seen a win for the defending champion, Andy Murray, seeded number 3 here this week, but of course the new world number 2, so just 1 behind Federer now. He was able to beat the lucky loser from France, Julien Benneteau, who was in the draw for the exhausted Juan Martin Del Potro. Murray winning that one in 3 sets. And the question that needs to be resolved over the course of the next 2 to 3 hours is who will Murray play in tomorrow's semi-final, because of course it'll be the winner of this particular match. Federer won the toss and elected to serve. And of course, as always, it'll be the best of 3 tie-break sets. Federer here this week with the Swiss Davis Cup captain, sitting alongside Mary Jo Fernandez there, a former top 10 player, former Grand Slam finalist at the Australian Open. But no Merker and no twins. Probably enjoying a little bit of a respite there. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on once Merker and the twins start travelling with him. I'm sure he'll have plenty of help at hand. I'm sure he won't be getting up at all hours of the morning in order to help with the feeding, etc. It's a lovely little volley, nice and short, just enough slice on it to get it to dig into the court.
I really like the way he's been coming in this week, and one thing you notice about good volleyers is they cut the ball off on a diagonal. They don't go sideways, they go forward on the diagonal, and therefore they're able to catch the ball while it's a little bit higher above the net.
We'll keep an eye on how Federer serves today, because he struggled initially in the wind yesterday, but then made adjustments in the second and third sets against Spain's David Ferrer. Took a bit of pace off the first serve and got a few more in. And I think you're absolutely right, Doug. There's no question in my mind that the blustery conditions will favour Hewitt, because of course he bases his game on consistency.
Yeah, exactly, and he's just looking to have anything that's going to disrupt Federer help him. In the wind, well, what else could be better for Hewitt in terms of a disruption? When you've lost to somebody so many times in a row, you're looking for any little edge to make a difference.
Struggled a little bit last week in Montreal, Hewitt, because he picked up an injury in Washington the previous week when he lost to Juan Martin del Potro 7-6 in the deciding set, and he was still hobbling a little bit last week. That seems to have cleared up nicely, though he is wearing a strap on his right leg just to help hold up the patella tendon there a little bit. Got a little tendonitis in the knee. A lot of players suffering from that at the moment. Likes of Nadal, David Ferrer,
Gilles Simon,
Fernando Gonzalez, another one. It's a killer. These guys have played so much tennis throughout the course of their careers that now it's starting to hurt the body a little bit.
Yeah, we did his match last week, that opening round against Juan Carlos Ferrero, and Ferrero was taking everything early, and Hewitt wasn't moving particularly well last week. That's why I was worried about how he was going to do this week.
Leighton's in town with his wife, Beck, this week, which is nice, and a little daughter as well. She's been watching Dad play a little bit of tennis this week too, Mia Rebecca. I think she might be having a little bit of a snooze this time in the afternoon today. It's about 3 o'clock local time.
I think he's going to need to do some more of that today to be successful. We always talk about the fact that Hewitt is a pretty good volleyer. He's had some excellent doubles results, but at times he stays away from the net. And when you're playing someone like Federer, I think you got to take your chances. You got to try to put as much pressure on him as you possibly can.
Yeah, Hewitt.
Well, neither player has really found his range or his rhythm on serve as yet. Hewitt just making 2 first serves there. Same number as Federer in his opening service game. But nevertheless, both have managed to hold serve.
One of the reasons why Federer has been so successful against Hewitt is he neutralizes what Hewitt does best, and that's the return of serve.
Deft touch in the wall, number 1. A shot that he incorporated into his game plan more than ever last season, especially on the clay, and used it again here this year well.
Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to experience the evolution of professional tennis in Cincinnati by visiting the official Tournament Museum. You'll find
such a great thing when you played someone as successfully as Federer has done against Hewitt. You play so consistently, and you take the court and you feel pretty much invincible. It's almost like before you even go out on the court, you think, okay, all I have to do is do pretty much what I do all the time. Serve well. Eventually, you know, he doesn't have that many weapons that can hurt me. And if I just stick to my game plan and play relatively well, I don't have to play great, but if I play relatively well and serve well, then I'm going to have a lot of opportunities, and there's not much that he's going to be able to do to really hurt me.
For a former world number 1 like Hewitt, a 2-time former Grand Slam champion, what goals does he have left in the game now at 28, ranked 42 in the world?
I don't think he really believes that he can win another major, but that certainly has to be one of his goals, that he can win another major and maybe challenge the top 5 guys in the world again, because he's beaten some good players this week in Soderling and Querrey, so he's getting close to moving inside that top 20. He's such an amazing competitor. You know, I think for Hewitt, it's not so much about how great Federer is, but it's about how good he is. He loves the game, he loves competing, and he just believes as long as he's out on the court, he has a chance to beat anybody.
Interesting to see Federer trying to take that second serve on. It's something that he has tried to do a little more frequently this year. Varying results. Really unloaded on that forehand. You could hear the difference in the sound contact of the ball made from all the other shots.
And he probably knows the best way to get to Hewitt's weakness, which can be the forehand, is you have to go out the backhand a few times to open up that side.
There's a lovely little backhand from Hewitt. Nothing wrong with the approach shot, really, in terms of depth. And Hewitt's so solid off that backhand. No question, Doug, that shot a little more consistent than the forehand, perhaps.
Yeah, and it seems like his movement and the way he transfers his weight on the backhand side is better than the forehand. He hits the forehand pretty open, a lot of arm sometimes. Harder for him to control it.
Federer trying to beat Hewitt today for the 13th consecutive time, and that would be the best record he has against any current player. Oh, it's a lovely shot.
That's the backhand that made him the #1 player in the world back in 01 and 02. He's able to change the direction and take it so nice and early. A lot of the Aussies feel that one of the problems with Hewitt's game is he's not willing to take those risks anymore.
I think he tried for a while, for a couple of seasons, but it's just not a natural way for him to play. And you know what it's like, Doug, if you feel like you're trying something that doesn't come particularly naturally, it's going to be difficult under pressure. It's going to be hard to believe in it when it really matters. Well, despite the fact that both players aren't getting as many first serves in as they would want, in a perfect world, they're still holding serve relatively comfortably.
Well, all Hewitt can really do here at the beginning is just try to stay close to Federer. You know, it's like a sparring match, and when you haven't had good results, you come in a little bit shaky, and it's important just to make your opponent believe that you can stay with him initially. And then if you can keep it close enough, well, then maybe the choke factor or the tension factor plays a role. And we know that Hewitt loves to play the tension-filled matches. So if he can get Federer to drop the level down to his level, well, then he's got a better chance rather than thinking he can play up to Federer's level.
Time.
Well, Jason, we've seen in the last couple of games, in this game in particular, Federer missing quite a few forehands, and he's having trouble keeping the forehand in the court. And you said that the match that he lost to Tsonga, similar things happened. It was like a bad memory of what Federer was going through last year.
Definitely.
Water, 15.
He's only made 31% of his first serve so far, Hewitt, 5 of 16. It's remarkable that Federer hasn't gone closer to breaking as yet. That has been a problem for Hewitt throughout the course of his career. Because he's not particularly tall, only 5'11", and he hits the serve with a lot of slice, not a lot of topspin. So when he does miss it, 9 times out of 10, it's top of the net stuff. And his first serve percentage has been a problem. Very rarely will he play matches where it gets over 55%, even when he's serving really well. But when he's playing badly, it often drops below 50.
Hewitt. Roger Federer challenging at the right baseline. The ball
Wasn't an immediate challenge, and Carlos Bernardes giving the world #1 a benefit of the doubt there. He took a long, lingering look at it and then decided and made a good decision in the end. But for my money, it needs to be a little quicker than that.
Yeah, I think Bernardes played a little bit of favoritism there.
So Hewitt needs to win the game all over again.
And this would shake Hewitt up, I think, if he were to lose this game, thinking it was already in the bag.
Yeah, it would be doubly annoying, wouldn't it? Federer very sensibly not giving Hewitt any pace to feed off there.
Yeah, and when you're a counterpuncher like Hewitt, that's about the thing you like the least. You want the pace on the ball. If you have to generate it yourself, you can see what happens.
So first break point of the match for either player.
Really mistiming the forehand still. And we've seen him when he has problems with the forehand. A lot of times he's not able to make adjustments. He keeps missing it the same way.
8 unforced errors already from the racket of Federer, 5 of which have come off that particular wing. Poor miss. And again, Hewitt there after the shot was just flexing the knee a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see how well he's able to move for the remainder of the match. He's played a lot of tennis this week, no question about it. Could have woken up this morning extremely stiff in that regard. And if it is annoying you a little bit, it's the last thing you need when you're up against the likes of Federer.
But he's thinking properly, making Federer play the forehand on big points.
Hewitt.
It's an exquisite shot from Federer. We saw him play a backhand topspin lob yesterday at precisely the right moment against David Ferrer, and that made the difference between the two. And here he used the wind beautifully.
But Hewitt had trouble with the knee there. Couldn't extend. And he's flexing it in the back of the court as we're speaking.
It definitely looks a little tender.
Hewitt is strongly caught the left waistline. The ball's gone.
Well, if it's long, he's missed some fairly easy approach shots in this game off of a backhand that's normally very reliable.
Is that because he has a lot of respect for the quality of Federer's passing shots?
I think he's just pretty much two things: nervous about playing Federer. Number two, physically, if he doesn't feel strong, he's not able to get down and really rip the ball like he wants to.
Nicely done. A little bit of good fortune there for Federer. The ball clipping the top of the net gave him a little bit of additional time to get around and use his favourite shot.
It's by 4 games to 2.
So Federer proving third time lucky. Gets the vital break of serve to lead 4-2 first set. Federer has tried a couple of backhands up the line and has failed miserably early doors, but that one was an awful lot better.
Don't you get the sense here that you're actually watching like a heavyweight taking on a middleweight? I mean, in the old days, Hewitt was doing well to play in the heavyweight division, but you don't sense he's there anymore.
I think he's really struggling for weaponry this afternoon, and especially if you take away his movement, it's always going to be tough. for him to be confident of getting anything out of today's match, he has to be super fit and raring to go, chasing everything down, making very few unforced errors, and he has to serve well. He's not doing any of that this afternoon so far.
His game has always been based around his legs, his speed, and his mind, his determination.
Lucky there, because there was nothing wrong with Hewitt's attempted passing shot. But again, it was good movement from Federer at the net, moving forwards to try and cut the ball off. And he had covered the line, so he forced Hewitt to go across his body. So he always gave himself a fighting chance. Good movement from the world number one.
Federer, new balls, please.
No question that Hewitt's struggling.
5 games to 2.
Federer with another relatively comfortable hold. And the top seed now just a game away from wrapping up this opening set.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been admiring the ferns, mums, and tropical plants around the tournament grounds, why not transport some to your house? Please make a date to attend our annual tournament set.
Has the amount of tennis that Hewitt's played already this week hurt his chances this afternoon?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can see that, you know, he's not moving anywhere remotely close to where we saw him move against Soderling or against Sam Querrey. And not only has it affected his movement, but it's affected his serve, because he can't put the weight down and go and extend into the ball. You have to be able to use your lower body to be able to really attack the serve. And so the legs, a big part of serving successfully. So, you know what, he's in a world of hurt right now in more ways than one.
Time. Take a seat, please. Thank you.
Well, the Swiss fans have had plenty to cheer so far. Hewitt's got an excellent record here in Cincinnati. Whenever he's won his first round match at this particular tournament, he's gone on to reach the semi-finals on all 5 previous occasions. So he's got to try and do something here this afternoon to keep that record intact. Worth reiterating, conditions this afternoon slightly better in terms of the humidity, but a little more difficult in terms of the wind. Players have got some nice cloud cover this afternoon. It's not particularly hot, certainly nowhere near as humid as it has been at 43%. Very pleasant. The only downside is blustery conditions, so it's making timing the ball a little more difficult.
Well, the side that Hewitt is serving on, which is the north side, he's serving into the wind. So he has to try to swing a little bit harder because he's going through some pretty heavy wind.
Yeah, I think the wind, though, is swirling around a little bit within the stadium. So that's why the players have always got to be on their guard and make the little adjustments needed whenever necessary.
13-14.
He's had a nightmare on serve so far in the match, only made 45% of his first. And staring another break of serve directly in the face here.
Deuce.
It's been really pretty ugly tennis. Both players struggling to find any form whatsoever. He's making a mess of his forehand. And Hewitt's just not able to explode on his serve.
Advantage in Hewitt.
In terms of his game plan, though, he was trying to pepper the Federer forehand, which is an intelligent play given how poorly he's hitting that shot so far this afternoon. Just so slow to react there, and usually we see him move so quickly to the first shot of the rally, and again I'm sure it's because he's having problems with the knee.
He's playing like a lame duck out there, and he just can't get the feet in proper position, and he also, his energy level's way down because of that.
Yeah, because we know whenever you get any form of injury and you're having to play a match, it's hard to really concentrate on getting the end result. It does affect everything that you do.
And he needs to pump himself up, just like in that match against Soderling. He got blown out in the first set. All of a sudden, he won a few crucial games, really got himself going.
It's exquisite tennis. I think the big difference, Doug, between that match and this one is that against Soderling, he truly believed he could still win that match when he was a set down. I'm not so sure it's the same this afternoon.
No, you're absolutely correct. It's all about belief, and the shot selection from Federer is incredible. And then his ability to cover the net this week has been, he's been all over shots. He's reading them so well.
We know Hewitt loves to play those little drop volleys, and he's an excellent volleyer himself, and perhaps something that he needs to do a little more frequently this afternoon.
But the problem is, if you're hurt, it's hard to get up to the net, and it's hard to be able to move up there with any agility.
An important game for Hewitt to eventually win. Keeps him in the hunt in this opening set.
Leads by 5 games to 3.
And of course, he's still got to try and solve the puzzle of breaking serve. Well, even though Federer has only made 45% of his first serves, 9 of 20, incredibly, he's only lost 3 points so far on serve. And Hewitt is supposed to be a great returner, so that will bitterly disappoint the Australian.
Looks like Sampras against Agassi, neutralizing the return.
Fault. Fault along.
Been on call 34 minutes, these two. For much of that time, Federer has been in complete control. Here he is, set point. And it's a cheeky little shot, that one. Again, forcing Hewitt to move and cover the most court possible.
6 games to 3.
Looks in pretty good nick this afternoon, Federer.
Dánský šampion FC Kodaň díky trefě Zdeňka Pospěcha porazil na vlastním trávníku Apoel Nikosie 1-0 a vytvořil si do odvety čtvrtého předkola Ligy mistrů nadějnou pozici. Tu však musí potvrdit v odvetném střetnutí na Středomořském ostrově. Kyperský celek je doma schopný porazit v podstatě kohokoliv, takže boj o postup do základní skupiny slibuje hodně dramatickou zápletku. Sledujte přímý přenos Champions League ve středu večer na programu Nova Sport. Utkání Arsenal Celtic Glasgow vám přináší Ford a Unicredit Bank, sponzoři UEFA Champions League.
It's day 5 of our live coverage here in Cincinnati, the 7th Masters Series 1000 of the 2009 season. It's a quarter-final action today. We've already seen a win for Andy Murray over the lucky loser from France, Julien Benneteau. And the winner of this match, of course, will face Murray in tomorrow's semi-final. Federer took the opening set pretty comfortably, 6-3, and it'll be Hewitt to get the second set underway.
Love 15.
Needs to keep his concentration here, Fed. Sometimes when you're winning relatively easily, it's easy to just get a little distracted. Well, there's no question that he has to serve better in this second set to stand any chance at all. He's only made one of his first 4 attempts at a first serve in this set.
You know, if Hewitt could serve a little bit better and improve on that 40%, he might do a lot more on his serve, because when he's been able to go to the Federer forehand, he's gotten quite a few free points. The ball really flying off of Federer's racket. And it's intelligent play. He just keeps going at that forehand, and Federer hasn't been able to make an adjustment.
First game.
Crucial for Hewitt to hold there. But of course, what he also needs to do is find a way of breaking the Federer serve, and for one of the best returners in the game, he's really been struggling in that regard this afternoon so far, Doug.
Well, we know how accurate Federer is with serve, and he can pretty much put the ball on a dime, and he's only lost 3 points. He's really been very accurate in both courts, and he's won the majority of points, so he's really gotten into the head of Hewitt, particularly returning.
Well, that was a much better return of serve. I love it when the play inside out, because all players tend to sneak a little bit to cover their backhand. So this return particularly effective, and especially against Federer, because we know he doesn't move as well to his right as he does to his left.
So I really think that first set was a bit of an aberration in terms of Hewitt only winning 3 points on return of serve, and we're seeing it right away. He's already won 2 points in this first game. So I think he's going to catch on to the Federer serve a little bit more, and he's going to challenge Federer on serve.
Again, I think there was a little bit of a grimace there from Hewitt. Federer has used that slice backhand well, and there's no question that Hewitt is struggling with that knee this afternoon. But he's fighting on bravely.
Well, he's got 2 things working against him. The wind, and it's affecting his timing, and then the movement with the knee. So you take those 2 things, and it's hard for him to feel comfortable from the back of the court. And then I guess you can take Federer's serve and say there's 3 things working against him.
Yeah, the third thing is probably the most important, I would suggest. Oh, that's lovely footwork. Just moved through the ball. He didn't bother stopping, checking, getting his feet in the right position before hitting the shot. He just wandered through it. Absolutely glorious. What a piece. Federer going to the well once too often with the drop shot.
Yeah, it was too predictable. The thing about a good drop shot is the element of surprise, but on this occasion, Hewitt saw it coming well before then, and he got there in plenty of time, hit the right shot, not allowing Federer to have much angle. You know, the real problem for Hewitt, he's made 20 unforced errors compared to just 7 winners. That's just not a Hewitt type match.
Let for service.
I like that shot of Federer's, drawing Hewitt off the baseline. It's a particularly effective shot when it's windy. His opponents just end up prodding at the ball.
It's particularly effective when you're playing somebody with a bad knee and the ball stays really low. So difficult to get down, bend the knees, and hit the ball properly back.
Bit of length from Hewitt. Timing the ball a little sweeter throughout the course of that rally.
Yeah, and Federer actually upped the pace there, and it played into Hewitt's hand.
Again, Hewitt.
A shot that Federer should have probably made. But another good hold from the Aussie.
By 2 games to 1.
He's got to try and keep his nose out in front.
You know, taking a look at Hewitt and the bad knee, I don't know if I'd actually be sitting down right now in between games, because, you know, it stiffens up when you sit down. Sure, you want to try to regain whatever energy that you spent in the previous games, but, you know, if you have a bad back or if you have a bad knee, then sitting down just makes those areas get a little bit stiff. And Hewitt has started poorly today. He started poorly that match against Soderling. He started poorly the match against Federer last week. So he hasn't been off to the greatest starts, and he starts to get it going on a little bit. And I think, you know what, maybe if you stand up, then you can keep it going. But if the knee's really bad, I don't know how smart it is for him to actually sit down. It could stiffen up again.
Nice to see the umbrellas being used to try and keep fans in the shade as opposed to keeping off the rain. We've had some awful weather in the early stages of the tournament, but we are promised a glorious weekend where it's not going to be particularly humid and we're going to get a lot of sunshine, so that'll be nice to cap off the week. Federer started this match strongly. If you weren't with us at the beginning of it, one break of serve was enough to separate the two. Federer wrapping it up in 35 minutes. And we're on serve in the early stages of the second.
15 love.
That's a lovely shot, unleashing the beast.
Well, he's missed a few forehands today where the footwork's been sloppy and the result has been poor, but not on this one. Everything's transferring properly, weight back to forward and accelerating through the shot.
Well, he's seemingly about to hold serve pretty comfortably here, but Hewitt will be a little frustrated because Federer's only made 2 of 9 first serves in this second set, so surely Australia needs to make the most of the situation. Well, Federer's had a pretty good record against a number of rivals. He's beaten Davydenko 12 straight times. He's beaten Soderling 11 straight times, but he's beaten Hewitt 13 straight times.
And we did a match of his yesterday. David Ferrer. Ferrer's never beaten him, what, 9 occasions?
Yeah, 9-0 now. Hewitt's lost the last 12 that these two have played. Today's victory by Federer would be a lucky 13th. So he has been utterly dominant against a fair few players of this era. Pretty close.
The lead is challenge the call at the right near sideline. The ball is called good.
And the ball, of course, does leave a mark, so often the players will go and have a closer look at it before deciding whether to challenge. And it's out. So an excellent challenge.
Second service.
Such a good first shot of the rally. When he hits his forehand with all that topspin, it really does kick up off the court, moving away from Hewitt. And really difficult to control that kind of shot when you're trying to defend against it. If you're ever so slightly late in conditions like these, ball just flies. 2 apiece.
Didn't need to make it that good. Had Federer well out of position. If he would have continued moving forward to the net, well, that would have been a much easier volley. This is the right approach, but this is the shot where he's just a slight delay in his position at the net wasn't good.
Poor shot.
This game has been a poor game. Federer hasn't done anything this game. It's all been Hewitt's undoing.
He made 7 of 16 first serves in the second set. 46% overall. It's not going to cut it against the world number 1. Break point.
Let 7 serves.
Oh, it's lovely. Just stroking the ball, making good use of the open courts, not trying to muscle anything, relying on timing to get the job done. And Federer at his very best. He leads by a set and a break now.
Evian Natural Spring Water is proud to be the official bottled water of the 2009 Olympus U.S. Open Series.
Rakouský mistr ze Salzburgu nedokázal v úvodním duelu čtvrtého předkola Champions League využít výhodu domácího prostředí a podlehl Maccabi Haifa 1-2. V odvetě na horké izraelské půdě se musí pokusit o zázračný obrat. Pomoci by v tom měl i slovenský reprezentant Dušan Švento a český záložník Patrik Ježek. Maccabi Haifa versus Salzburg v přímém přenosu Champions League. V úterý večer sledujte Nova Sport.
Utkání Maccabi Haifa Salzburg vám přináší Ford a Unicredit Bank, sponzoři UEFA Champions League.
You feel badly for Hewitt.
It looks like Federer is heading for a pretty comfortable victory. Miles McLagan, of course, Andy Murray's coach, keeping a close eye on proceedings because the winner of this one will play Murray tomorrow. What do you think he's made of the match so far?
Well, he's saying that this is a struggle for Federer. I think he's looking forward to the encounter for Murray.
A struggle for Federer?
A struggle in that Federer's not playing his best tennis, and that if Murray's going to play against Federer, I think it's going to make him more confident in having Murray go out and play Federer, seeing the performance out here today.
But surely Federer's only doing what's necessary this afternoon.
Well, you could say that, but I think a few things to be learned by Miles from this match. First of all, he's going to want Murray to really try to take advantage of a lot of second serves, because Federer hasn't been serving a good deal of first serves in this match. We know how well Murray returns. And the second thing is, because Federer's not moving particularly well with that forehand side, I think Miles will be quick to notice that, and he'll probably say to Andy, let's really go after his forehand.
It's good serving. It's been nice rhythm on that. Personally, I think the one thing that perhaps Miles McLagan could take out of watching this performance today is the fact that Federer's forehand return of serve hasn't been particularly good. And historically, when Murray has played Federer, he's used the slice serve to Federer's forehand to great effect. In fact, when he beat him in Doha at the beginning of the season, didn't lose a single point in the whole match when he served his slice serve to Federer's forehand in the juice court. We might see more of the same tomorrow afternoon. More success with that slider to the Federer forehand.
Can Hewitt, new balls, please.
No challenge from Federer.
Federer leads by 4
So
games.
Hewitt manages to reduce the arrears to just a single game, 4-3.
Ball, please.
You know, certainly his athleticism has been tainted today because of the bad knee. And we haven't seen too many matches in the recent future where Hewitt's really struggled for movement like we're seeing today. You did the match in Washington where so like against Del Potro, when he hurt himself, he hurt his quad a little bit, and then he had a little bit of a problem in Montreal. And today it's from all the tough matches that he's had to go through this week. And it's unfortunate because it's a big match, quarterfinal match. Hasn't particularly fared well against Federer, but you always think that there's some chance when you get out there, and he just hasn't been able to muster up the energy against Federer today.
Time.
Do you think it matters to Federer that he wins this tournament to go into the US Open feeling as confident as he possibly could? Or if he wins today, irrespective of what happens at the weekend, do you think he's played enough tennis since Wimbledon going into Flushing Meadows to still get the job done?
I think he's played enough tennis to go into the US Open, certainly to be ready to win it, but I think he needs to win this tournament to go in there with the confidence and the belief that he can win it. And if Federer's able to continue and win this match, I think the match against Murray just becomes a huge match, because that's the one guy that everyone's talking about that has a great chance to win the US Open this year. And it's because he's been playing better on this surface as of late, more so than Federer.
Murray does have an excellent record against Federer. No question about that. Oh, it's a lovely shot. We haven't seen many of those this afternoon, perhaps just one or two. And that was vintage Hewitt.
15-13.
Well, he took control of the point because the backhand was going nice and deep. He was able to move the ball around. We've seen that backhand used up the line earlier in the match. Just hasn't had enough opportunities to hit it.
That was one of his favourite shots back in the day. Very rarely used to miss it. Such good disguise on it. Very difficult to read in his opponent. Loved that little shot today.
Well, it's been perfect to play it because the serve has been good. Hewitt's taken a defensive position, and then the fact that Hewitt can't really change direction and move very well, it's the right shot.
Sands of time running out for Hewitt now. Federer just a game away from securing his safe passage into the last four.
Left, second service. Roger Federer strong on the court, the left service line, the ball was quite good.
Always looks like he's challenging begrudgingly. That was a poor one, to say the least.
15 love. Federer has 2 chances to win. Third to love.
The one good thing I think that we can say this afternoon about Hewitt is the fact that he's continued to try, give 100% given the circumstances, though of course has been struggling physically, and that's admirable.
Yeah, well, you know, if you were a tournament director, Jason, and you had money to hand out to players that maybe weren't as big as these events, I think you'd want to give that money to Hewitt because you know he's going to give you the best effort when he shows up to play in any tournament.
Hewitt.
He's certainly giving his best efforts here this afternoon, but his best may not prove to be good enough because the quality of the opposition this afternoon has been that little bit better. Federer is so good at doing just enough to get the job done. How easy has it been this afternoon for us to ascertain how well he's actually playing at the moment?
Can't tell. Can't really tell because he hasn't taken it up to the fifth gear. He's kept it pretty much in second and third gear. And he hasn't been challenged on serve at all. He hasn't faced any break points. And I think a lot of that's due not only to the fact that his serve has been pretty good at times, but the fact that Hewitt just hasn't been able to really move to get the serve. So it's not a good judge of how he's playing watching this match.
Jason Gore, courtside with Doug Adler, thoroughly enjoying the second quarter-final of the day. We've already seen a win for the newly crowned world number 2, Andy Murray. He's the defending champion here, of course, over the French lucky loser Julien Benneteau earlier today. He had to work hard, though, for the victory, 1-6-1 in the third. And, of course, he'll play the winner of this one in tomorrow's semi-final. Federer just a game away from victory. Federer has won the battle of serve against return hands down this afternoon. Under in a court now in 10 minutes. For much of that time, Federer has been utterly dominant, particularly on serve. Well, that's the way to sign off if you want to send a message to the locker room. Federer looking really comfortable there. Hewitt had no real chance to compete given that he was hobbled, all sorts of problems with his knee, so he couldn't move as well as he would have wanted. Federer took full advantage of that. And even though he didn't get as many first serves in as he would have wanted, just 50% when he did, he was utterly dominant. And Federer sails through to the semi-finals, 6-3, 6-4.
The match was really never in doubt. And for Hewitt, you feel badly because he played so well coming into this match, but just didn't have anything left in the physical problem that he had with the knee. It just shows you how important movement is at this level of the game. It's important at all levels of tennis, but at this level, it is the single most important thing. And even for someone like Federer, if his movement is off just a little bit, well, you can see what happens to his game. Breaks down, misses a lot of shots, but he really controlled the match from the very beginning, and certainly the biggest difference, the quality of serve. Federer's serve, whether it was first or second serves, it gave Hewitt all kinds of trouble. Hewitt never fashioned one break point chance.
Yeah, difficult match, I think, for Hewitt. He had played a lot of tennis coming into it, and of course that tended to take its toll. Does Federer need to play better than that tomorrow to beat Murray, or would that be good enough?
He's got to play a whole lot better. He's got to be able to be very consistent from the back of the court. The forehand has to get much better, much more consistent, and when he attacks, he's got to be spot on, because Murray is not going to miss shots. He's not going to break down, and he's looking to the encounter, so Federer's going to have to take it up a level.
But today he didn't. He was easily good enough to be able to dispatch Leighton Hewitt in straight sets. So Federer manages to win his 200th match at this level. He's only 9 behind the all-time leader now, Agassi, and incidentally 51 matches ahead of his great rival Rafael Nadal in that regard. So he will play Murray